Football fans, Gooners, welcome to the post-match edition, post-Arsenal Leeds edition of the Positively Uncensored Arsenal podcast. And as always, I have my friend and associate, Blackburn George. How you doing, George?
We're okay.
Just okay. When we can, people of our ilk, when we get together, it's I can see another morning. It's important. Which brings me to the point, a segue to the point that we're two old coots, but we tell it like it is. No fake narrative, no spin. That's the value we add, and we encourage you to like and subscribe and spread the news about our little thing here. It's different from most of these other guys. And speaking of different, George, I haven't done the whip around most of the social media because I had some other engagements. But it strikes me that Arsenal scrape a victory over Leeds, and scraping a victory it's very strange adjective to use because we dominated the game. But at the end of the day, George, we are blaming Pepe because we only got through by 2 goals to 1. And it is amazing. I don't know if you have noticed this yourself.
Yeah, well, it's odd that Saka was so ineffective he got hooked, and yet we're blaming the guy who replaced him.
Yes.
Weird,
George. But George, take a look at this. Arsenal was dominant, possession-wise, shot-wise, shots on target, touches. I've never seen such a dominant performance. Passes, majority of corners. And when they went down to 10 men in the first half, after that terrible tackle by Ayling, I thought we were going to heap another 2 goals on them and you'd look like a prophet at 4-0. But we just could not break them down after that. Did you notice that, my friend?
Yeah, I think we didn't break them down as much through their good luck as their good management. It was just one of those games, like I say, we were total dot. If we'd have won 6-0, nobody could have said it wasn't justified.
Yes. As evident in the stats.
And they scored a corner, the first corner we've conceded all season.
Yes.
So we can't really complain about our defending of set pieces. I mean, you hear the commentators that say, "Oh, they're vulnerable on set pieces," and when we don't concede one all season, clearly we're not vulnerable on set pieces. Just one of those things. Got a bit of.
We're certainly not like Leicester, who inevitably in every game concede on set pieces.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just one of those games. I mean, the first 25 minutes when it was 11 versus 11 was good to watch. Mm-hmm. We played some great stuff, great interchanges, overlaps. Everything was going right. Mm-hmm. And I think once they went down to 10 men, we sort of dropped down a couple of gears, which is understandable. You're 2-0 up and they're down to 10 men. The urgency's gone. Mm-hmm. And I think that explains it. I mean, it's human nature. You might say, "Oh, they should push on," and difficult, isn't it? Well, you think you got the game won, and it's hard to put that extra yard in. And I think that was all that was lacking. I think if it stayed 11 versus 11, we'd have won much more comfortably.
Yes, we see this all the time, George. That 11 versus 10, it's not easy, and an easy adjustment for the players.
No, well, it has a two-way effect, isn't it? Mm-hmm. The 10 men try harder, and the 11 men don't try as hard.
Right.
It sort of balances itself out again.
Yes.
What you don't want to be doing is playing somebody like Manchester City if you go down to 10 men, because then you just don't see the ball at all.
And they'll cut you to bits with their patterns. They'll cut you to bits with their patterns. I saw that poor old Newcastle yesterday. They cut them to bits with their passing patterns and just created chance after chance. But we're talking about Arsenal. You know, the commentator on my feed said they dropped once they lost that man. They dropped to like a 5-3-2 formation, and sometimes it was like 0-5, like there was zero person up front, and we just had it difficult, and that reflects itself in the stats. But George, then we went into the second half, and we created a lot of chances, and in particular, I noticed that Martinelli just fluffed his lines. And I only say this because he had three great chances to score. You would have thought that at least one of those chances he would have put in the back of the net. And he did not, obviously. But I see nobody turning on him. And which
No,
is
because
something
I think overall he had a very good game.
Yes, no, he was very dangerous.
So you're not going to turn on somebody when you know when they just miss a couple of chances. They weren't sitters, but there were a couple of 3 chances that you would expect him to get. But I think he wasn't a problem. I don't think anybody was a problem. Like I say, I think we just stepped off the gas, and once you step off the gas, it's very difficult, notoriously difficult, to step it back up again. You know, you go into the game with the right attitude. If you lose that attitude halfway through the game, it's very difficult to get back into it. So, I mean, it was a nervy, half hour or something.
Yes.
But it shouldn't have been. We were well on top.
Yes.
So, you look past the result again. The performance in this case was better than the result. I mean, we've had some results this year that have been better than the performances. So let's not turn our noses up at a performance that's better than the result.
Who you think? I know you mentioned that Saka did not look very effective and had to be hooked in favor of Pepe. And we'll come to that, by the way, George. But in general, I thought we won the game. I thought we won the game in midfield. I thought that Xhaka and El Neni, because they put Tommy, which surprised me, by the way, we put Tomiyasu on the left back position.
Yeah, I thought it would have been the other way around.
Me too. But he was really a good matchup with Rafinha, who is dangerous, and he made him ineffective actually. But I thought that freed up Xhaka to go a little further forward, and El Neni sat back, and they just basically cleaned up everything in the middle of the park and allowed Odegaard, Martinelli to do their stuff. I don't know if that was your observation. Of course, the first goal was just a cock up by Melier. Took his eye off the ball. And the speed of Nketiah and the speed of mine to take advantage and to slot it in the back of the net. But once that happened, I thought they were on the back foot entirely for that half. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. They were. They didn't recover from that at all, did they?
Yeah.
Like I say, I thought we played very well for the first 25 minutes. It was quite impressive.
And Martinelli supplied. Talking about Martinelli, I should balance my somewhat muted criticism. He provided that cross to the second goal for Nketiah, George, one time in the back of the net, and that was a nice build-up and finish, if you recall.
Yeah, started with Xhaka.
Yes.
Xhaka to Martinelli. Martinelli skipped along the touchline, didn't he? Cut it.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I had that in my notes and I quite forgot. That was Xhaka who sprang Martinelli free.
He sprang a few traps yesterday as well, by the way.
Yes.
He had a good game. El Neni had a good game, and Odegaard had a good game.
And George, of course, at the end of the game, many of us pointed out, including myself, that it was the so-called deadwood. The Nketiahs and the El Nenis that most of our fans wanted shipped out. That made this game a victory for us. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, once again, I've been at it this morning on Twitter, saying that clearly El Nenny's playing far better than Partey has played since he came to the club. People just won't have it.
That's
They just, it's there in front of your face. You can see it. You watch it. And they'll say, no, they come up with absurdities like, but his ceiling is higher. It might be a very high ceiling for Partey, but you can't fucking see it. It's that high. It's outside.
Only the pigeons, George. Only the pigeons.
Yeah, been out of sight for 2 years. El Nenny's playing better than Partey has played since he arrived at the club. It's as simple as that. And people moaning about him getting an extension. I'd give him an extension and sell Partey if it was me.
But George, we are so... Well, let's back up a second. Partey is Edu Arteta signing. Remember the whole to-do the first year after he came in, and we had to strengthen the midfield. So, this is part of the narrative. We've seen the PR. We're never going to criticize Partey as long as he's on the in with Arteta and Edu in particular. I don't know if you concur, but this is what I've noticed. And at the same time, when we brought him in, we sent El Nene on loan to Besiktas. I think I got the pronunciation right there. And he came back prior to the end of the season, if you recall, and had 1 or 2 games later. Did he? I'm not sure. But a 1-year loan at Besiktas, which he did very well.
Well, he's a good player. He's a tiny little player. He does his job effectively. He doesn't try to do somebody else's job. He does his job.
Right.
And he did some wonderful through balls. He's done more. More through balls.
Right.
In the last 3 games than Partey has in 2 years.
Yes.
Seriously, he has.
Yes. I was remembering a through ball, and I'm trying to go back to my notes, George, but it doesn't matter. He did one excellent one, I think, in the first half of the game. And I'm like, I would like to see more of that from Partey, Mr. Partey, when he plays. Partey is more physical, but El Nene is more cerebral. He makes the right choices, and he has a range of passes, George. I mean, he can pass it short, he can pass it long, and he is a ferocious tackler. He goes in there without being dangerous.
And he keeps it simple as well, doesn't he? And he keeps it quick. He moves it on.
Yes.
He moves the ball on far quicker than Partey does.
Yes.
He gets it and gives it. Partey gets it, fucks about, does a pirouette, loses it, or misplaces the pass. It's. I just think El Nenny's better. But, what's the point in keep going over the same?
Yeah, well,
Nobody's going to have it. The majority of people will tell you that, Partey's far better player, despite the fact you've never seen it. It's like, it's a bit like God for me, Shotter. He's there, but he's never to be seen. There's no proof that he exists, but you just to believe in it. Well, we just to believe that Partey's a good player. We're never going to see it. It's a leap of faith. You just have to believe he's a good player.
No, George, it's not only that. He costs 42 million GBP, Great British pounds. Yeah, I think it was 42 million. We paid the release clause, and he has to be good. People will hang on to that. And El Nene was like, what? I don't know. It was a 5 million. It was a snip when we signed him. I think he was also, where was he? I don't remember. I think he might have been in Greece, but I'm not sure. I don't think I'm correct there. So he can't be good, George. He can't be good. And the higher the price, the better. But the man who is not a signing of Arteta, but cost us 72 million pounds, is getting it in the neck, George, this morning. And I want to tell people, I was like, what did Pepe do so wrong? So I remember the breakaway after Melier came up for the corner. You remember? And the ball came back, and Dan James fucked around, and he lost it, and Pepe picked it up. But But Dan James made a very quick recovery, and Pepe wanted to come inside on his left foot. But Dan James got the ball, and I remember the commentator saying, "Very good move, Dan James. You created a you made a mistake, but you responded. I didn't even know he had that amount of gas left in his tank at that point." And so I was shocked, George, shocked that Pepe was getting it because apparently he tried to nutmeg Dan James. And I mean, what the thing that strikes me, George, and I want to tell you, why did why did even Arteta get involved in this? James Bang, he has a I don't know if he writes for Goal or for one of those others, Football London, had to tell us that Albert Stuvenberg was in Pepe's ear. Um, I I I don't get it, George. What do you make of this?
Well, it's. Did Arteta say that? Is that a real quote?
This is a real quote from the .com.
Well, it
Yeah,
did
I
fuck
brought it up.
off.
You want to see it again?
Honestly, I don't want to feel like this about Arteta, but I'm fucking sick of seeing shit like this. You know, uh, that's just nonsense. And then there was that bollocks the other day about ex-players, Bergkamp and Henry specifically. They can come if they're behind us, but if they're not, they're going to be a long way away from the club. Why doesn't he just keep his fucking mouth shut, the fucking arrogant shit? Really getting on my tits. And Pepe, you know, he hasn't lived up to our expectations by any stretch of the imagination. But he hasn't been given much chance either. It's like,
Yes.
what do you expect him to fucking do? Like you say, Dan James can run faster without the ball than Pepe can run with it. That's
Correct.
fine. Mm-hmm. So Dan James caught up to him. So Pepe wanted to cut inside and take a shot at goal before Melier got back. Had it worked,
you'd have been a hero.
But it didn't work, you know. And don't fucking tell me what else could he have done? No, they say, "Oh, knock it in front of him and run for it." What's the point when Dan James when he can run faster than him? Not Dan James, is it?
Yes, it is. It is James. Dan James, formerly of Chelsea, I think.
You know, you push it in front of you and run for it, you're going to come second. You're not going to beat him in a sprint. So you lose the ball anyway, with no chance of scoring a goal. But at least if the move he tried had worked, he could have scored. But that's typical of Arteta, that, you know, we can't understand it. Well, I can't understand some of the shit he comes out with. I'm sure he just fucking says things to annoy me.
I want to read this back to the fans who are not looking because they're probably listening. So here's the quote from Arteta on the .com. When you see that he's got an empty net in front of him. Now by the way, George, he's almost at the halfway line when this happened. And he's taking a touch backward. He didn't take a touch backward. We cannot really understand, but you have to have the perception of the player in that moment. Well, absolutely. They are the ones who make the decisions. Unfortunately, we didn't need that goal.
So
go ahead.
He's implying that it was a mistake, that he did something wrong.
Right.
That it would have been an easy goal if he'd have done something else and he'd done it right. And it's absolute fucking shite.
But, you know, and the thing
he's a cunt.
Well, you know, George, he's now almost a deity for a certain type of fan. And, you know, let me put it this way. You and I have never been big fans of Pepe. Never. We thought he was overpriced. We thought, whatever, right? But I felt that this was uncalled for and unfair. And that's why I emphasize it. People want to, the fact that we just got away with a 2-1 victory, they want to blame Pepe for that. And it's unfair, guys. Even when you look at the tape, and this guy, I'm going to give him a prompt. He just go and look on Twitter. Timeline of a guy named at Somto Ezil. Somtoezil. He has the tape there. I couldn't record it because it was on Peacock and I can't record these things that are being streamed. But you can see it there. It's it's unimaginable. They're trying to make it out as if Pepe is evil incarnate. We can't blame Pepe for the 72 million pounds, George. He didn't ask for. You know what I mean? Come on.
No, and then they start calling things. He's lazy. He can't be bothered. He's got a bad attitude, and they roll out the same fucking shite, player after player after player, and it's always the same reasons that. I mean, it's funny that he can go away to the African Cup of Nations and play really well with the right attitude and do a lot of running and trying and scoring and assisting.
Yes.
But all of a sudden he comes back here and he can't be bothered. If it's true that he's not interested and can't be bothered, maybe ask ourselves why.
Well, that happens to, and this happens to all these other. He's not the first who all of a sudden.
Don't get me fucking started. If you can't get a tune out of Mesut Ozil, you're a wanker as a manager. There you go. But anyway,
but the thing that fans, the thing that concerns me is why are our fans falling for this? Don't you see? It's not good for us. Arteta says we must be united as a team and as the fans behind the team. But then you're coming out and throwing a player to the curb. And then you have the James Bengs. You have one of your favorite, I won't even call his name. But all these big bloggers going to fall in line. Come on, guys. Are we going to go into the Champions League like this? Are we going to just dump good players when you need depth? I mean, come on. We're playing one game a week. You know, when we have to play 2 and 3 games a week, we're going to need everybody on board. And not all of them are going to be. We're not going to get Manchester City quality players. Let's get that straight in our head. They will outspend us to get the best. I don't. Fans, I don't get it. You know, if you want the best for this team, and the manager can't be doing this to players. Georgia, that's my.
Yeah, well, he's
I'm
not
on a soapbox.
You know, you watch. I watched Gabriel yesterday, and honestly, he's one of the worst passers I've ever fucking seen. He gives the ball away so cheaply. And you think,
but he's a favorite.
He's a favorite, but we've got Saliba. Or have we? Probably fucking not. So,
well, you know, George, I've stayed away from the Saliba. I've stayed away from Saliba because all I see is YouTube videos, and I distrust them with as far as I can see them because I've seen players. I saw Pepe's videos, George. I thought he was a dog's mother. All the goals, the fantastic goals he scored in for Lille. I was like, okay. You know, remember we were a choice between him and the fellow from Crystal Palace. And you were like what's his name again, George?
Wilfred Zaha.
Yeah. You remember? Fans, you remember me and George going back and forth on this? George was like, no, Zaha. Guys, my point is we use videos to judge players and the highlights. That's not it. It's like the El Nene effect. El Nene will never look good on a video, George. He doesn't score worldies every day. But he does it, as you say, simple. His reading of the game is extraordinary. He's at the right place at the right time. Guys. Anyway. George, and the last word, we have been nattering on for 25 minutes. Let me put it this way, George, before we go away. I think that we're fully, well, to use your metaphor, both hands are on the top 4 trophy. And Spurs drew with surprisingly with Liverpool. You're expecting them to lose, and
I
we play them
was.
on Thursday. What are your
I think
predictions
we'll
or
lose on Thursday.
prognosis? Go ahead.
I think we'll lose on Thursday.
You think they'll be up for it?
I don't see us winning on Thursday. I could be wrong.
George, you're gonna lose a million fans here. I mean, we never lose to Spurs. Well, we should be losing to
Yeah, but
Spurs.
we do.
Yes.
Yeah, but we do.
No,
And
they'll be up for it, George.
I think the thing with Spurs is they've played well. They've beaten Manchester City twice.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a draws. They've got a draw against Liverpool, and they set up like we set up to win the FA Cup.
Yes.
So whether they can do that at home against us and get away with it, we'll see. If they come out and play, then we could get a result. And I think they might have to come out and play.
They need the
But,
points.
but if they sit back and we come on to them, I think we're vulnerable to that. So we'll see. I don't. I take a draw right now.
Me too. I mean, that would just leave us with two games where winnable games. Everton. And who else again, George? I don't remember. We know Everton is the last game. Guys, help me here. We have the last two games. But, I mean, they are winnable games for us. Don't forget the element of the Spurs supporters at home, George. They will be up for it. I mean, for all this. Yeah.
An evening game under the floodlights.
Yes.
London derby. And it's desperate for them. They're desperate to win it, aren't they?
Yes.
They have to win more than we have to win. We can take a draw, like you say,
and we can take a loss.
And we can even take a loss. Yeah. So
it wouldn't be. Would it be completely out of our hands, George? Everybody's saying even a loss, we still have our future in our own hands.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. If we lose to them, but win the last two games, I think we get fourth. I think.
Oh yes, oh absolutely. Although Chelsea hasn't been rooting up trees, George. They haven't been.
Don't you start with chasing third?
Yes.
It makes me laugh. This. The question is not, can we overtake Chelsea? Well, we can if they're absolutely shite, and they're absolutely shite recently, so we might. I mean, once again, we're depending on other clubs being crap for us to sneak past them. It's not that we're pulling up trees. It's that how bad are the rest that they're dropping points right, left, and centre, and we're either pulling away from them or getting nearer to them.
Well, the observation.
Look on the bright side. We could be Manchester United. How bad are they?
Oh God, George! Oh my God! But George, I'll make a last point here. I hope it's the last point. They spent a lot of money, George. I mean, their fans demand that they spend a lot of money. And look at them, they're shambles. They decided, went back to like Ronaldo. Why would you, when you think about it as a rebuilding job, you go back to Ronaldo, you're depending on Ronaldo for goals. 20. But just spending money, George, and as Ehab says, every coach comes in and he wants players and he leaves his players, and every coach spends another 50 million or so. I mean, they're dying to send Pogba, who was the biggest signing up to when he was signed, George. The fans will take him to the airport. Uber, if all of them are offering to Uber him to the airport. And the thing that struck me is that we're doing the same thing, but I wouldn't say exactly. And that's why I say, I agree with you often after when I reflect on it, that we can't do with that instability. It's horrible. Your thoughts?
Well, I agree. But Paul Pogba, it can't be that bad because Manchester City were prepared to take him.
Exactly. He reminds me of Pepe,
You know, yeah, and they're not coming in for Pepe, are they?
No. But nobody's coming in for Pogba, is there? I'm
Yeah,
hearing a big
City
offer.
wanted him.
Uh-huh.
City were going to take him, but he's turned them down. He doesn't want to go to them. Allegedly.
You know, George, I always thought that
But I mean, yeah, we see people rumours today, us signing Raheem Sterling.
yeah, I
You
saw
know,
that.
because City are signing the big guy, Haaland.
Harlan, yes.
So you know they might want to trim their the squad.
And Sterling worked under Arteta before, so all the stars
yeah.
are aligned.
That would be nice. And then people turning their nose up saying they don't want it.
Jesus Christ.
He'd be our best player if he came, but they don't want him.
Well, people, you're not going to hear. I doubt if you hear much of this discussion on elsewhere because I don't know. People go with a certain narrative, and they don't let it go. And I know, George. This might be patting ourselves on the back, but I think you and I are willing to let go of a certain narrative if it's the facts change. And the main thing here is, to me, is yes, we're getting closer to the top four trophy, but we're making some of the same mistakes, demonizing players, scapegoating them. We fail to recognize players for their real qualities, and we're gonna say it. Like and subscribe to us. At least you'll get a different point of view from most of these other guys. Any last words, George?
No, just say it. The upturn in results has come with a midfield of El Neni and Xhaka.
There you go. Two of the most hated players.
Two players that nobody wants.
Yeah.
Apparently, won't get in any other team in the league. Dominating midfield against players that are supposed to be better than them and that we want. They don't get a kick. But anyway.
Yeah, you have me thinking about Tillemans, by the way, but I'm not going to.
Oh, don't. I mean, as if who's he an upgrade on?
I don't think so, George.
I tell you what, don't forget, when you buy him, you've got to buy a dietitian as well to keep his fucking weight down, the little fat fucker.
Yes, he's a little fat fucker, isn't he?
He is a little fat fucker. He makes Sammy Nasri look slim.
George, Sammy Nasri was a player, okay?
He's a good player.
Yeah, love that. I love that little. He broke my heart when he went to wait aside for City, George. I didn't get as emotional.
He was a horrible little shit, wasn't he? Like he'd cut your throat in a fucking tunnel on the way to the game.
Anyway, let's not go down there. Guys, like and subscribe. Tell your friends about us. Two old coots. But we think we have something to offer, a different point of view, which we are often, and we're not always right. We're willing to say we are wrong and to change our point of view. Thank you very much, George.
Thank you. See you later, boys.
Bye.